got to get your levels.
Testing.
Oh, that's perfect. Hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah, brother.
And I started actually using the Twitch dashboard.
I always just use Streamlabs instead of OBS as my computer side, and it does a lot of the dashboard stuff with, like, it has your chat up, and a lot of the integration stuff is just there.
Yeah. Well, that's I'm just using the creator dashboard, so it's got the chat, a small video, all your other stuff in there. Oh, I need to put this on streamer mode. Oh, it is on streamer mode. Okay. There we go. Cool.
Maybe I'll switch over to streaming on YouTube so I can get all my friends and family banned for using emotes.
Okay. Put the phone down so I don't need that. All right. Cool. I think we're good. Did you add anything to the notes?
I did not.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna when we talk about what video games we've been playing, just leave Pokemon out because I have that as we're gonna just do like a off the cuff review in the general gaming.
Okay.
Cool. All right, let's clap. 1, 2, 3. Cool. All right. Hello, listeners. This is Barely ADS, the shoe. Yep. I'm starting over.
Here on Barely ADS, we talk about shoes, the biggest sneakerhead podcast on the planet.
Oh, God. I'm just going to throw that in at the very beginning. Hello, listeners. This is Barely ADS, the show where we shoot from the hip. We're streaming it live at twitch.tv/barelyads, and you can find us there usually on Sunday nights around 10:30 Eastern Time. This week's Band of the Week is brought to you by the Millennial Falcon, preventing home ownership while providing avocados for generations. And that band is Golfer. You can find them at golfer.bandcamp.com, and buy the album. It's $8. If you want your band or anything on the show, send us an email to barelyadestinyshow@gmail.com. Hit us up on Twitter at barelyads, or go to our website, barelyads.com, where there are links to join the Discord and also to the YouTube, where we would really hope you'd go hit subscribe so we can get youtube.com/barelyads. And finally, if you want to support us monetarily, and next year, 2020, with more content, patreon.com/barelyads. You see that? See what we did there? It's all the same, Barely ADS, except the email.
It's like you've got a branding idea going on here or something.
I know, right? It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's real smart. I wonder if anyone's thought to do that before.
Right. Oh, yeah, and Quack's here. I didn't introduce you. What's up?
Oh, yeah. Hey, what is up, my doggies?
Yep. And I'm Xanafan. So, how you been?
I've been doing pretty dang good, to be honest. It was a week that felt really long because I was anticipating Friday, and then Friday came and went, and it's felt like the weekend has gone faster than ever. You know how it is.
Yeah. My weekend's actually been going pretty slow, which is great because I still have one more day of weekend tomorrow.
So jealous.
Right, which is good because if you see behind me, lots of mess that needs cleaned up, and I have to build a bed and a bunch of stuff like that. So, yeah. And but the best part is I'm back at home, not in the hotel anymore, and I got to cook for myself tonight, and it was delicious and super healthy. I made a tofu scramble with all raw veggies and nothing frozen, and even some fresh garlic and cilantro in there. It was delicious.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice, nice.
yeah.
Did you throw it in tortillas or just had it as like a pan scramble?
Just a pan scramble. Yep.
All right. Can't hate on that.
Right. All right. Well, what have you been playing?
Um, well, we'll get to the big game later because I'm
Yes.
sure that's what everyone's here for. But one night this week, I was able to link up with my brother and play some Rocket League. I don't get to play with him a whole lot because he is finishing his master's degree in sound engineering. So, as
Okay.
that turns out, he's working a lot with that. And we played a bunch of Rocket League. We played a bunch of the mode Drop Shot. If you've ever played Rocket League, if you haven't, it's kind of like a volleyball mode where you try and keep the ball out of the air when it's on your half of the field, and you try and spike it into the ground on their side.
Oh.
Um, so, it had a lot of fun with that. And then I've actually been playing. I've switched over a little more towards team fight tactics in the TFT versus Dota 2 wars for my heart and soul.
Mm.
Just because I feel like it feels a little more fresh, simply because I don't understand the meta or really anything that's going on, even though I understand how the game's played. Right.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I hate the current meta in Dota Underlords. It's gross. I just don't like it. And everyone's going for hunters all the time. I played Dota this week
yeah.
as well. And the healing druid or healing knight is just not working out too well. I don't know if I'm just getting unlucky or what, but I just have not been getting into that top three very often, and it feels bad.
Yeah, that's rough. I had a game in team fight where I went down really early, fell into last place, and then stabilized at 1 hit point and went on absolute tear and came in second to the guy who had been steamrolling everyone from the start of the match. And I got knocked out, and they had like 60 some health left still. But I'd won 3 rounds in a row against them, and then they just outspent me because I was back against the wall for so long.
Yeah, I feel that. I think in Underlords it's just the addition of Underlords. I don't know if I like it. It's like when they added Planeswalkers to Magic.
Yeah.
Just
You're not a fan of Planeswalkers and
Oh
the Underlords?
no, I don't like Planeswalkers and I don't like Underlords. So I might have to make a switch to Teamfight Tactics.
It's pretty fun. And it's pretty easy to group up in a party too. So we'll have to actually do that for once.
Oh yeah, we keep saying we will. Maybe we will. Maybe we actually will, but probably not for at least maybe a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until we exhaust the big one.
Yeah. I did play some more Mass Effect Andromeda. It's still fun. I'm still trying to do all the things. The worlds are so huge, so it's been difficult to progress. And FUD, no, I have not gotten any further in the story. I just keep spending hours and hours and hours on the same planet.
Trying to see everything there is to see.
Yeah, killing as many ket as possible.
Well, this is your first like run on this playthrough, right? You got to get to the break, and then when you come back is when you'll blaze through the story super fast.
Yeah, exactly, as I do. So I got 2 games to play in between, and then I'll definitely be probably just getting it out of the way at that point. Is how it usually feels when I'm trying to finish those games. But we've both
Absolutely.
we're going to get into some general gaming with an official Barely ADS review of Pokemon Sword and Shield that we've both been playing. And
Oh boy.
I'm going to start off by saying I love it.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I've always had a soft spot for Pokemon games. I have played basically every single game all the way back to when I was a kid when I got Red and Blue during the first year it was out. So I always play them. I enjoy playing them, and this is no different. I've really enjoyed everything about this one so far. If you really, really pay attention, you can see some of the things that people were complaining about, but you like have to have an eye out for it, and in no way is it something that is frustrating to me.
Well,
Like
what are those things? Let's pick it apart a little bit.
So I've noticed maybe twice, and again, the when I noticed it is when I was going back through the video that I was watching of me play the game, since the two of us are putting out some let's plays of it. I noticed some of the pop in and pop out issues with things that are really far away. You'll see the moment that they pop in within your screen,
Hmm.
but it it's been like twice in probably 5 hours of play that I've noticed it, and only secondhand when I'm not actively playing it. Um, and then I have noticed a little bit like on one or two cutscenes where there's just a half second of slowdown, but it's also the Nintendo Switch, and that's not exactly far from what happens on the console, you know?
Yeah, that's more
Uh,
Switch woes than Pokemon woes, it seems.
yeah. Other than that, everything's phenomenal. A lot of the new Pokemon are like, I see them, I'm like, oh my God, I fucking need this right now.
Yep. The first one you were popped in my stream and you're like, there's this super ugly turtle that I want so bad, and then I caught one. But the one that stood out for me, though, I was like, I need this right now, is the corgi, the electric corgi.
Oh, yeah.
What's it
Yeah.
called? I can't remember right off
I
the top of my head.
Yeah, with the heart shaped butt
Yeah,
spot. Yeah,
it's so good.
adorable.
It's the new Pikachu for sure.
Yeah.
And then
One of its starting moves is Nuzzle.
yeah, and it paralyzes you. So good. But there's like a little donkey that's ground type that I really like too. He's cool. And then I just got into the Route 3, and it looks to me like the new version of Oddish basically. It's
Hmm.
just like a flower.
Oh yeah, yep. I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. Or like a new version of Rosalia.
Yes, that's probably a better example.
What did you think about the new Dynamax Pokemon and those Dynamax Pokemon battles?
It's a little strange to me. I enjoy the battles. I think it's a cool way to make it easier to catch Pokemon, because you're guaranteed to catch it at the end of a battle. Um, that like there's an extra currency involved, which is strange, and I still don't really understand how your own Pokemon Dynamax. There's like a meter, but I don't
Yeah,
understand like how to fill the meter on purpose, or how long. Like, does the meter refresh every battle, or is it
it
carry
does
over?
not. It's super. So I went and the first time I went through that wilderness area, I kind of spent a little bit of time, and then my party was looking pretty banged up, so I rushed ahead to the next town and
Hmm.
healed, and then did some of the stuff in the town, and then turned around and was like, all right, I'm going to see all there is to see in that area, and went back.
I did the
And
same exact thing.
when I went back to that area, I did like 4 or 5 of those Dynamax encounters in a row, and
Hmm.
every single time on the very first turn, I could Dynamax my Pokemon. And so I don't know why that was. And it was across multiple different Pokemon. Sometimes it
Hmm.
was the same one, 2, 3 battles in a row, and then I'd switch. So I don't know how that works either. It's something that I'm sure I'll figure out as I get more time. But I like the idea of like using the currency to refresh those places to do the battles, and having a guaranteed chance at some random Pokemon that may not be in the region that you're in right then and there.
Yeah, yeah. Let's just talk about the wild area for a second too, because that area is amazing.
Yeah, it's
It's
super cool.
it's broken up into sections, and like Pokemon Let's Go, there's Pokemon that you can just see in the tall grass, and there's ones roaming around. The ones roaming around are way too powerful. Such as like they trick you too, because you walk in and there's an Onyx right there, and you're like, oh cool, I want that Onyx, and then the game's like, nope, this is not for you yet. But there's like a very large variety. So
Mhm.
I caught probably 30 different Pokemon in that area, and still haven't been able to. Like, I was like, oh, I want a Ghastly. Nope, too high. Oh, I want this Machop. Nope, too high.
Yep.
Uh, Bunch of stuff like that. but it's pretty big, but not dauntingly big. And yeah, lots of little secrets. I bet there's a whole lot more that we can find in there that we haven't discovered yet.
Yeah. Um, I also found at least one or two little fishing holes in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't seem like you need to get a rod anymore because just right out the bat you could fish in those little spots.
Yep.
And of course it was like Magikarp, Shelder, Krabby kind of stuff in there. But I saw that, so I'm assuming that we'll see more of those when you get surf because deeper in the lake, I could see like a Gyarados swimming around at one point.
Oh yeah, I caught
And
a Gyarados with my pole and then had to run away.
that's actually pretty great.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I think is really amazing about this Pokemon game that you didn't really get in the past is that everywhere you went in the past, there were just Pokemon that you could fight and catch every single time. Here in the wild area, like the routes are still going to be like that, but in the wild area, nope. Some of them you're like, oh, this thing's going to dunk on me. I got to get out of here. And you can't do anything about it. And it makes the world feel more alive, I think.
Yep. I mean, even in that wild area, there was a section where even after leveling, all of my Pokemon were like level 13 to 18 range.
Mm-hmm.
And I would run into one section where everything was at least level 25. And so it's like, I'm going to absolutely get, dicked on if I try and contend with these. And even if you threw a Pokeball, it was just like, nope, you're too low level. You can't catch this yet.
Yeah.
So I like that they've found a way to make some of those areas more relevant even after you've completed the content. So I feel like that's one of those things where once you get ahead in the game, you're going to be like, okay, now I want to go back and see the stuff I already saw. But,
now I can
that I'm
catch
high enough, I can actually deal with that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I got real sick of Electrikes though. I will say.
I got really good at like dodging. I was like Dark Souls trying to roll away from all of the Electrics chasing me around.
Yeah. And you can avoid them in the tall grass too, which is cool because you have like a split second where if they're ones that you can't see, because there are some random encounters, you can still cut away. There's like a little exclamation point that comes out. As far as story goes, your rival is a lot less rival and a lot more best friend, and he's kind of an idiot.
That was how it was in the last iteration too, Sun and Moon.
It's
it was
the only
like
one I
your
didn't
best
play.
friend, and your best friend was. You had like multiple rivals, and it seems like this is going to be how it is too, where some of those other like champion seekers are going to be people you fight against a number of different times.
Yeah, which I like.
Yeah.
So,
and I guess that kind of has been a mainstay as far back as what was the one where it was Wally was one of the guys you fought all the time, and he had a Gardevoir that you had to fight.
is that
Ruby maybe?
or gold and silver?
Maybe. I feel like he was later than that, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. They all kind of blend together.
Write us up on the show and correct us because we're dumb.
Yeah. There are a ton of older Pokemon too, so that complaint is just ridiculous. Like, who cares if you can't pull in all your Pokemon from the previous generations out of your Pokebank? Like, give them time. I'm sure that they'll be able to do it. But like, there are a lot of things. Like, I have a Pikachu, I have an Oddish, I have a Growlithe, I have a ton of Gen 1 Pokemon. Probably half the Pokemon are Gen 1.
So here's something that's always kind of been a big question mark in my head, right? So even if they had support for all 800 some whatever stupid huge number it is, most of those are not catchable within the world, right? And so
Right.
what people really want with being able to transfer the bank stuff is to have a badge of achievement that says, look, I spent a bunch of time playing games before this one to complete this Pokedex, even though anyone who started this game at the same time as me is just starting the game 3 feet behind me because I already have most of it figured out, and all I have to do is go find the new ones. So you're going to play a completionist game where you start out the game with it 70% done, and you're upset that you have to start at 0 this time.
Yeah, something like that. I don't quite understand it myself because, like I said, this is the first time that it's been on an actual console and not a Game Boy.
Yeah.
And if they did it before and it was well received, they're going to do it again because it costs the Pokemon Bank costs money. It's like a subscription,
Yeah. Yeah.
so they're definitely going to want to do that. And it's just a matter of time till they figure out how to like encode it so that like, oh, you have this Pokemon in the bank, you can pull it now onto Switch because we've made the codes work between the two different systems or whatever.
And just the sheer like number of animations for different kinds of Pokemon, it goes far beyond even just the kinds of stuff like within battle, because there's also the setting up a campsite and being able to interact with them there. It's
Mm-hmm.
the being able to see them walking around the world
Mm-hmm.
and moving around there in all sorts of different kinds of terrain. um, so the idea that like Pokemon has been releasing it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like a new game or a new service every single year since 1990, like 1997, something like that. It's
Yep.
been a long, long time that they've been releasing basically a game a year. And at some point, it's like they're migrating to an entirely new console. They are creating a huge number of new animations on probably new rigging software to interact with this console, which has been notoriously hard to code for, according to the development times of other games like Dragon Quest. And there's people upset that they can't do it in that span of time. Like if
Right.
you either want to wait a half a decade for a Pokemon game to come out 100% polished, or you want it to come out every year, and at some point you're going to run into a wall where you just can't keep up with the previous demands.
Yeah, and knowing the Game Freak and the Pokemon Company, what they'll probably end up doing is give it a year or two, and then we'll have like a revamped version of Red and Blue, and then a revamped version of Gold and Silver, like they've always done. And then eventually you'll have every generation on Switch when they keep doing that. And we're going to want to play those games because every time they release a like quote remake, they're amazing and
Yeah.
better than the previous one.
Well, it stays true to what the initial was. It usually brings in a lot of the quality of life stuff that came with the premium version of that, whether it's, the Emerald to the Ruby Sapphire, the Crystal to Gold and Silver,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever else. It
Yeah.
brings a lot of that stuff forward. And then it usually brings some of the newer mechanics from other games to an old scenario, which is always fun and cool. And if you don't like that because you've already played the game, then just wait for the next major IP release.
All right. So the last one was what? Heart Gold and Soul Silver? No, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire was the last one of those. So
Pokemon Let's Go, kind of, because it did follow the Red Blue storyline on Switch.
right.
But it was more like Let's Go series
Mm-hmm.
esque. Like it was definitely like if you had played a Pokemon game, it didn't feel as much like a Pokemon game. It felt more like Pokemon Go on the Switch.
Yeah. But so what I'm getting at is, and that was a way that they would move from like Game Boy to Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Advance to like DS and things like that. So what would be next? Diamond and Pearl probably would be the next round.
Yeah,
So we might
that'd be
get
cool.
a Diamond and Pearl remake. And typically what they do in those is they include the regions for all of the ones before it.
Yeah.
So Heart Gold and Soul Silver had the Kanto region from Red and Blue, and then Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire had the previous two. I want to say, but so if they do that and it follows suit, then the Switch will get a version like that, and it'll have 3 or 4 regions in it, and so over time we'll have everything on Switch. I'm
I
sure.
would, I would love to get Diamond again. That was a really fun one.
Yeah. But let's see. As far as story goes, it's your typical story. You know,
Yeah.
to be the champion. They kind of doubled down on it though this time, to the point where like even the Team Rocket is involved in that. It's the
Hmm.
Team Yell. They're ridiculous, and that cheesy metal music plays. But
Uh, you'll love to see it.
yeah, but overall, I am really enjoying it. It's scored pretty well. It's what, like a 8 out of 10 average, 8 to 9 out of 10 average. That's what I've been
Yeah.
seeing. And yeah, I totally agree with that. It
It
yeah.
If you like Pokemon, you will really like this game. If you don't like Pokemon, you will probably really dislike this game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to tell you. It's a formula that has kept people coming back to the franchise for
20
20
years.
plus years. And it is, in my mind, the most polished version of Pokemon that you're going to see. It has the quality of life stuff you would expect from uh, all of their previous iterations, and it brings a new thing with Dynamax, which is interesting. It seems a little bit gimmicky to me, but I'm still, less than 10 hours into the game. We'll see how it feels when I've gotten to the end game and are doing all of the extra stuff after the Final Four.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, all you Pokemon fans that were like mad and worried, don't just play it. You'll like it, I'm sure. I'm talking to you, Todd and Squid. All right.
Dropping names.
Yeah. All right, Todd, deal with it. Okay. There's moving on. Some new IPs were announced at XO19, which is Xbox's event. This from James Batchelor at GamesIndustry.biz. So coming to us from a special episode of Inside Xbox, which was recorded at XO19 in London, there's a new game from Obsidian called Grounded. It's a survival action game. And the premise is that you've been shrunk down to the size of an ant and you need to survive the dangers of a suburban backyard. So I said, AKA, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the game.
Yeah, I watched the trailers for these games. This one looked like something that would be really fun if you like survival games. Not usually my cup of tea. The one thing I did really note was the art style, and a lot of the art styles of the games we're going to talk about here were not exactly Fortnite, but similar in that games are going less for hyper realistic and more for kind of the matte, almost cartoon, um, like stylized
Mm-hmm.
characters and worlds, where it's not something that's trying to perfectly replicate what you see, but more the impression. It's like the Monet period for video games.
Which I like. I do like. And the only, like, the most realistic looking games that I'm like, oh, cool, they did a really good job with that, would be like Horizon or Spider-Man. It's like that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
it's toned down a little bit even in those.
And even in those, they're super realistic, but I feel like what makes them stand apart is that they have a clear artistic direction and
Mm-hmm.
things that are very memorable with being hyper realistic. Whereas, like, when you see a hyper realistic Call of Duty, it's just lots of shades of brown and gray and pretty, at least for me, wholly
Memorable.
memorable words, dude.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah. Another new game from Rare called Everwild. And all we really know is that it's, quote, an experience that allows for new ways to play in a natural and magical world.
Speaking of Horizon Zero Dawn, this one gave me a little like vibes of it, just in the way that the animals and world kind of reacted to you. I know in Horizon Zero Dawn they're not actually animals, they're robots, but there were kind of these wondrous creatures that reminded me of the wondrous mechanical beasts in Horizon Zero Dawn in the trailer. I'm excited to see what this one is,
Cool.
honestly.
Rare also announced new content for Sea of Thieves. And then from Don't Nod Entertainment, in partnership with Xbox Game Studios, is a narrative adventure game called Tell Me Why. It's the first title from a major publisher to feature a playable transgender protagonist.
I think this is the same company that did Life is Strange,
Oh, okay.
right?
I'm not sure.
Um, and this really looked like it was going to be something similar to Life is Strange, where there was kind of a mystery that you're trying to piece together, and a mystery on a small scale of like how it affected the family and how the family members felt and reacted to it. And it looks like it's going to be something that you play through. It's pretty emotional, and either it resonates with you or it doesn't. I'll
And
probably give it a try.
you are correct. It is the Life is Strange developers. So they're working with Xbox now. Cool. Instead of PlayStation. Right? Wasn't that a PlayStation thing before?
I think so. It was definitely a PS Plus game. That was how I got a hold of it at one
Okay.
point.
Right on. And then finally, we got an update on Project xCloud. There's a preview coming to new markets next year, expanded with 50 games from third-party publishers, and you can even use a PS4 controller.
This is the part where I would like to point out that the PS4 controller is the superior controller. Haters can at me.
I'm not one of those people because I agree. The only thing Xbox did was give us removable sticks. And,
I do like that.
And but you can just put them on a PlayStation controller like I did.
Oh. I will say the one thing that Xbox has is I think the build quality of Xbox is probably higher than the PlayStation, but I don't like offset sticks. I don't like the way the triggers are, and I don't like the way the buttons feel on my hand.
Yes, what he said. All right, some positive news for once. I made sure to throw this one in here. Bungie raises 1.6 million through Game to Give campaign. This from Marie D'Alessandri at GamesIndustry.biz. There were 40,000 contributors and 5,500 streamers who helped raise money for the Bungie Foundation, who then used the money to give iPads via the iPads for Kids program and the Children's Miracle Network. And what they do is they give iPads to hospital patients with access to curated content on the iPad to help make their hospital stay less stressful.
That's really sweet. There's no hot takes you can really have about this. This is just something that's incredibly kind from the gaming community, helping some of those people who are at their most vulnerable.
Indeed. So shout out to Bungie once again, killing it. And then we've got in 6 months we'll be seeing more of that with Guardian Con streaming.
Yep.
Yeah. What did they raise last year? It was around that same amount. It was over.
It was a lot of money.
Yeah.
I don't want to venture forth a guess because I will be very wrong.
Yeah. All right. Moving on again. BioWare plans a complete overhaul for Anthem. This from Jason Schreier at Kotaku. And he must have heard me ranting and raving about Kotaku because their one good journalist came back from paternity leave and gave us a real news story. We haven't heard much from BioWare and EA, even after a few high-profile people have left the studio. But according to 3 people familiar with plans for the game, BioWare is working on Anthem 2.0 or Anthem Next. They haven't decided what they're calling it. There is some informed speculation that it could be... they're not sure how they want to release it, the new version. It'll be either No Man's Sky style with updates, or a big game-changing expansion like The Taken King, or even a completely new game. But if it is a completely new game, they will not be charging full price to Anthem players. But what we do know is that they are definitely changing most of Anthem's biggest systems. And the way they're accomplishing this is they took the game and stripped it down to its core, and they spent months figuring out what needed to change, and they're rebuilding it from there. So I'm hoping they stripped it down to it's fun to fly and shoot and use your powers and and the kinds of loot that were in that game were really good,
Hmm.
and like customizing your javelin was really cool too. So like all like the basic gameplay stuff was there. They just needed
Yep.
everything, the world and the story and the way you get the loot and all the things to do with that gameplay. That all needed to be redone. But if you can
It,
still fly and shoot and use powers and customize your javelin in whatever new thing they do, I'll try it out for sure.
one of the biggest questions about Anthem, I think, will always be, especially if this update comes out and is good, is what does the alternate timeline look like where they don't force this to come out and then instead they focus on getting all of the stuff that they needed to get done with this update and
Mm-hmm.
release it even a year late with all of the stuff uh, that it has after the big update or the expansion or the next iteration or whatever, because the core gameplay loop in Anthem was really fun, like managing your primers, your detonators, and playing to the strengths of the javelin you were playing was awesome.
Yeah.
Everything else was awful,
Mm-hmm.
was atrocious. The quest system was very poor thought out. The dialogue options were sometimes nonsensical, to the point of
Mm-hmm.
comedy, where characters are asking who a character is about a person who's standing next to them. The 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 loot system was barely even baked, like I'd say half baked, but I don't even know if it made it into the oven before it was done preheating for a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, and once you come out in a state like that, it's so hard to recover a game, that you have to wonder what does the game look like with a community if they waited until they had it right.
Yeah. For sure. And I want to think that EA has been learning a lot from Respawn this year because they're letting Respawn do their thing.
They should. It's the only thing that's really doing anything for them right now.
Right. So hopefully they can allow BioWare to go back to just doing their thing because when they can and they don't have to fight with like the Frostbite engine, because full disclosure, Jedi Fallen Order's on Unreal. I just looked. Then maybe BioWare could focus on the things that they're good at, like story and character progression and that kind of stuff, as opposed to we can't do it because the engine's not letting us.
That game was such an unstable mess. In that it seems only BioWare games and Frostbite games can be.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Google Stadia will launch without key features. This from Matthew Handrahan at GamesIndustry.biz. And it's going to be missing achievements, family sharing, 4K streaming, and the Buddy Pass. So, like the things that people were excited about,
Yeah.
you know?
Um, Again, this is one of those things where I feel like Google's making a calculated move and going, the people who are early adopters are going to be early adopters regardless of what we do, and we've already got their money. So,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, but the figured out when they get it figured out, and hopefully product out of it. But Google's been one who's shy with trying something stupid and then just canning it when it fails.
Yeah. What's weird about it to me is that Stadia is for not us. It's for
Yeah.
people who don't already play video games, basically, to give them easier access to games at a high quality. However, the early adopters of Stadia are gamers that just are interested and want to try it out and see what the newfangled thing is. So it might be a good move because like they're not going to, the early adopters are the ones that are going to care about the buddy pass and the family sharing and the 4K streaming. And so like that's kind of a kick in the nuts to them. But if you, the people, if it does what it's supposed to do at its core, which is give people easy access to games via the internet, then it should still work, I would think.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Related, it's that the is sending out feels like a cheap piece of crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's aimed at the people who aren't gamers and they don't have a whole lot of experience. It's fine, but I heard it described as a knockoff of Mad Cats.
Oh no. Oh my gosh.
So after that, should we get into the games coming out this week?
Yeah, yeah. But real quick, let's do a clap, and I'm gonna restart the call because I'm getting some lag.
Right. Okay.
1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, real bad lag. Okay, I'll call you back. Don't stop recording.
And we're back.
All right. Cool.
Back in the saddle again. Please don't sue us for.
Right. Okay, so top games being released this week. This is from Tony Wilson at GameSpot. We've got Shenmue 3 on November 19th for PS4 and PC. Munchkin Quacked Quest.
I was an executive director on this, as far as anyone knows.
Also on the 19th for PC and Switch. It's kind of Diablo-esque. It's procedurally generated online isometric dungeon crawler, but watch your back because your teammates can stab you in the back and steal your loot.
How many words was it to describe the genre of that? Procedurally generated online isometric dungeon crawler.
That was my description of it. But yeah. So that's like an easy way to say it's like Diablo. And there's Black Future 88. This is coming out on the 21st for PC and Switch. It's climb a procedurally generated tower while dodging lasers and fighting bosses until you reach the architect on the highest floor. And it also has local co-op. Then we have Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts on the 22nd for PS4, Xbox, and PC. It's the next in the Sniper Ghost Warrior series, which I didn't know was a thing. It takes place in Siberia, and there are many different options or routes to complete missions. So I think my dad might like that game. I'll have to tell him about it. And then finally...
Those are always ones that I've felt like I would enjoy playing, but I've never picked one.
Oh. Did you download Sniper Elite 2 months ago on PS Plus?
I did not. I missed it.
Oh. That would probably tell you if you'd like it or not.
Yeah, sad day.
Yeah. And then finally, it's already out on mobile and Switch, but Civ 6 is coming out for PS4 and Xbox on the 22nd. So if you're into the Civ games and you don't have... why is this not on PC? That doesn't make any sense.
No, it is.
Oh, it is? Okay, good. Play it on PC.
Yep. Civilization 6, if you didn't have Insomniacs before. Because it's one of those turn-based games, so you're always like, oh no, play one more turn.
Yeah.
And then it's 4 a.m. and you're like, oh god, I've got to work in 3 hours.
Yeah. Admiral Nips, I believe, is one of those people. So.
He knows that feel.
Yep. Yeah. And then finally, it's kind of video game news, but did you see the new Sonic trailer?
I did. They completely redid the Sonic character, and my only hope is that I don't have to abandon hope that maybe they'll go back and fix that horrible Doom movie they made back in the 2000s as well.
I don't know if that's going to happen, but I think...
I don't want my hopes to die here.
I will say, in addition to just making Sonic look like Sonic, and they did a great job with that, the trailer itself was a lot... It seemed like they hit the right target this time. Because like the music, the like banter between Sonic and it just felt more Sonic to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
I think they did a good job. I've seen a lot of people saying make sure you think about all the people who probably had long hours for this. And I would agree with that sentiment. And, you know, you always feel for something that certainly feels like it was a decision by someone who is out of touch, and their decision is going to ripple down to the people who do the work.
Right.
But that they did a fantastic job, and I think a lot of people are going to be really happy with what they did.
Yeah, for sure. I plan on seeing it now. When at first I was like, nah.
uh, All right, well, let's get on to listener questions. And we've got an ad read here by one of our two favorite companies in the entire world. And this week's listener questions are brought to you by Cosmodrome Vodka's half brother company, Vex Vacuums. You know them, you love them, we do here. Here at Vex Vacuums, we are hard at work developing the next amazing vacuum for your household needs. Our newest model, the Harpy model, will be exclusively for male guardians who love guardian scraping their void regions, if you know what I'm saying. Sometimes you trim and the hair and skin fall to the floor. The Harpy model will be there to help you out. Not only is it shielded and laser equipped, but it's also travel friendly. It's perfect for the guardian on the go. Just listen to Admiral Nips give his endorsement of the product. Shut the fuck up about vacuums, you GD heathens. Thanks for the ringing endorsement, Nips. So go to your local CVS and pay $10 for our Harpy model Vex vacuum, and you'll never have to worry about void region hair all over your floor ever again. $10, that is a steal, Zan. I am probably going to pick up that very real product this week.
For sure. Just make sure you use the code hashtag fuckboypaul to get that discount. It might drop it down to $8. You never know.
So our first question this week comes to us from our favorite Nar. How you gonna yeet that meat?
This is easy. You take the meat and you yeet it.
All right, listeners, I want to get real down and slow with you when I tell you how I'm going to eat that meat. I'm talking candles. I'm talking rose petals in the bath. I'm going to go real slow, and I'm going to take care of myself, because this is Bads After Dark, where we're here to eat that meat.
Oh, God.
Next up from Goose. Or would you give Saint 14 a farewell kiss?
Yeah, I totally would.
Yeah, a little bro kiss. Maybe like the Italian, once on each cheek.
Yeah, for sure. Also, is it... He's a robot, so, like... Nothing to really worry about there.
So also, you're saying I shouldn't slip him some tongue?
I mean, you could. If you really want to.
Next from J-Dad. What is your favorite Destiny 1 weapon?
See, this is a dig at me because I got stuck on this in the speed run of Guardian Downcast. I was on... It's basically minute to win it with answering questions. The more questions you answer. And it caught me off guard. And, yeah. So my favorite D1 weapon is Hawkmoon. But,
Hawkmoon, you say?
Yeah, but man, I was on par to get. I would be winning in that challenge.
I really miss the Hawksaw now, the Crucible pulse rifle, because I had a beautifully rolled one that was just a 3-burst laser to the head all the time. That, or I had a wonderful longbow synthesis with hidden hand and either quick draw or snapshot that I really liked.
Nice.
Next up, we've got a double question, both coming from Phoenix. They're not related to one another, at least I hope not. The first one is, how many nipples is too many?
I'm going to say 4.
I'm going to say any number larger than the number of boobs. Man boobs, woman boobs, any boobs. If you've got more nipples than boobs, that's probably a problem.
I could agree with that.
And his hopefully unrelated question is, Why do people not love Leviathan's breath?
That's a bow, right?
Yeah, it's the heavy bow.
Oh, I don't even have it.
Um, I don't care much about bows outside of Shattered Throne to begin with, and when you say heavy bow, I get even less interested.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry.
Maybe because it's just not good, Phoenix. That might be it.
Which that's fine.
Yeah.
You are perfectly entitled to like not good things. I mean, some people choose to listen to us.
This is true. It's true.
uh, Next up, Grumpy wants to know: think we'll ever get a new speaker in the tower, or is Bungo just going to pretend that part never happened? I don't want to break my NDA, but I am the next speaker of the tower, so it's
Oh,
my
yeah.
ugly mug standing around and saying the same 3 lines over and over.
I kind of don't want another speaker. I think the speaker was bad for the tower and for Guardians, and if they replace him, and probably just do the same thing. What I'm more concerned with is, are they ever going to pick a new Hunter Vanguard? And why? And it needs to be Shax.
See, I figured it would be old. It's whoever killed Cade is supposed to be, and it's like a tradition of someone who would hate it the most.
Yeah. Well, and also, when are we gonna ever find out what's going on with Uldren?
Yeah, it's been a year since the reveal came out of Uldren getting rezzed. Sorry,
Yeah.
spoilers, Forsaken boys.
Yeah.
Next up, Goose would like us to answer the question: when will Ikora open up her new Bluetooth speaker to the public?
I'm gonna say at the end of the season.
I'm just betting she's waiting for Dre to sign off on the beats.
Yeah, you got to get that $100 increase in value.
Oh yeah,
Or not value, just the price. The value is still bad.
Yeah, if there's not a logo on the side, are you really selling a product?
That's true. It's true.
Next up, Doc wants to know what's the tower's Wi-Fi password. It depends on who set up the Wi-Fi network. Like, I'm guessing it wasn't Cade because he doesn't seem the most tech-savvy person.
Right.
I could see Ikora, and then it would be like
Books.
Countless Guardian or something. If it hacks, it's clearly just forever.
It's Titan. Let's just get real. It's Titan.
I'd say it's Banshee, but then you'd have to reset it every single week because Banshee would keep forgetting.
Hey.
If it was Zavala, it'd be something boring.
It'd be a poem, probably.
Yeah. It would just be his what's the Mars Valis to Arik.
Oh, you know what
want it or not?
Yes, that's the Wi-Fi password. It's the whole thing. Whether we wanted it or not, we've stepped into a war with the Cabal on Mars. So let's get to taking out their command one by one, etc.
So you guys let us know, who do you think would set up the Wi-Fi in the tower, and that'll help us answer that question better.
Yeah.
And to finish out, we've got another twofer from our good friend Marky Mark. The first one being, how if you became a porn star and used your name as his porn name?
I'd probably be pissed, just like Phoebe was pissed when her twin sister used her name as her porn star name in Friends.
It always come back to Friends.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be flattered if nothing else. Like, you got people searching the internet just for my dog.
Yeah.
And Mark, question 2, Friday coming up. Are there any gaming mice you would recommend keeping an eye on?
Yeah. Well, my recommendation would be Razer Death Adder. So I've had a couple of them over the generations, and I really like it. They're low profile. They work really well, and there's not too many buttons. Because who needs a ton of buttons on your mouse, really? You know?
You really don't. So I've had a number of different mice. I've never had a Razor Death, but I've always heard good things about those. If you like MMOs, they also have the Naga, which has like 9 buttons along the.
Yeah.
Um, but I've run Corsair, and I've run Logitech, and a couple other smaller brands. And right now, I'm running a Logitech G203, which is like a $20 mouse. It's super cheap, but I like it. It's lightweight. It's fairly small, fits in your hand. But the Logitech 402 is, from what I've heard, pretty nice as well. And I would recommend Logitech. Corsair worked well for a while, but then one of the springs wore down in mine, and that's just use. But I liked that one. It was a little more of a heavier mouse, so if you like something that has a little more weight, I would maybe go Corsair over Logitech.
All right. Right on.
And that wraps up all of our listener questions for this week's episode. You want to take us out here?
Sure. Well, first, why don't you tell us where you can find you on the internet?
You can find me on the Twitter sphere, the Twitter blog, the Twitter realm. I make 'em quack. You can also find me as of this week on YouTube. Just do a little search on I make 'em quack or something to that nature, and it will be the one with the gangster looking duck. I'm working on a Pokemon Let's Play series, and episode 1 came out today. I'll have 2 out tomorrow, and I'm hoping to have a new 20-ish minute episode drop every single day for the next couple weeks till I finish up Pokemon.
Awesome. And the same with the Barely ADS YouTube, but from my perspective. And then we might even splice them together. Whoa, that'd be crazy.
Getting fancy.
Right? But you can find me anywhere. You can find me at Xanafan711. Band of the week, remember, is Golfer. Find them at golfer.bandcamp.com. That's GULFER. You can find this show on patreon.com/barelyads, barelyads.com, barelydestinyshow@gmail.com, twitter.com/barelyads, and twitch.tv/barelyads. Thank y'all for listening. And remember, yeet that meat.
Bye.
All right, let's get one more clap.
Yep.
1, 2, 3. Dope. We've gotten magical with the timing too. It's like almost always within 5 to 10 minutes of an hour.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, got to raid somebody. Who do we got? We're gonna raid Gunbait.
Give him a raid.
I said what's gonna be.
Say hi to Gunbait. Give him all our love. He's playing Star Citizen.
Okay, you gotta read the words.
Thanks for hanging out, guys. Love you.
Thank you.
Changes what they say. Hey, Totes, Cat says hi. Are we all saying hi to Totes for Cat? Is that what's happening right now? I didn't realize
Stop
you couldn't tell her
streaming.